Hello and welcome to the 41st installment of Randomer Nintendo for, I'm borrowing this move from Kevin, who always says the date, for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. I am Jason. Looking down our topic list, it's very movie heavy. So I'm going to say we're all concessions, like the little let's all go to the lobby concessions, and I'm the bucket of popcorn. And in front of me in the parade is, I guess, is it chocolates or something? Which, Angel, do you have a candy you want to be? Be a candy. What candy would you?
Not 100 grand.
Okay, so anything but 100 grand. That's hundreds of candies. Great. And I guess right behind us on the parade to
it's me.
It's Kevin, who
it's
I guess
me,
you're the
the
what?
the
Oh, I always gotta keep it PG and be like, hey, and it's Kevin, who's probably the drink, but not soda, because I know he loves Monster Energy. But nope, you went there. You just went.
What's in the cup?
Oh, I'm gonna have to edit that out.
Yeah, you are. But the mystery of it all will just make it funnier, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, very. And there's George bringing up the rear. Yeah, he will get a kick out of it. George is being remixed live this episode.
I don't know why I immediately went to for
yeah, we have an interesting movie theater experience. Is that your go-to concession at a movie?
That is.
What is your go-to?
Yes, it is.
All right. Besides that, in terms of edible things, what's your actual go-to concession at a movie?
Oh, popcorn. Always popcorn.
Okay. Yeah. Same. Angel, what about you?
Not 100 grand.
Not 100
Well, they don't even sell 100 grand at movie theaters. So
honestly, 100 grand. Call out the side. That's a whole other thing.
You should explain that. You can't just casually reference a hatred of a candy with no context. I mean, you can, but
it's not a hatred. Fine. Let me say this thing first. I guess I don't really have a thing. I literally change it every time because I don't think I've found my thing yet. Like popcorn, I feel like no matter the size, it's just always more than I would ever want. So I just typically don't really get any. And I don't know. Sometimes I get pizza. Sometimes I get pretzels. Sometimes I get little chili cheese nachos.
They still make dibs.
Sometimes I get the hot dogs.
I think they still make dibs.
They do, because I've gotten them at least in the last 2 years.
The dryer ones, right? Dryer dips, the little ice cream balls. Yeah, they still make those.
So I rotate. Yeah, so it's a rotation that I do. Whatever I feel like.
So to your point about popcorn being too much, I wholeheartedly agree, and yet I still eat the entire bag or bin or tub or whatever anyway. Not the entire
even
bin.
When we share, I've been to the movies with you, and we share popcorn buckets, but I feel like even then, I still don't, even then the bucket doesn't get finished.
But by you,
or maybe the times I've been with you,
I normally finish.
Or maybe the times I've been with you just happen to be your off days, I guess, where the bucket doesn't get finished. But
yeah, no, I'm usually pretty. Well, often I'll get a regular size one. But now,
because we ate dinner right before. I don't know. Maybe that's spoiled you.
that might be part of it. Now I have AMC A List as well. Not to flex by AMC A List.
I literally just saw a video on some guy saying that we have to get rid of AMC A List.
No, because I get free upgrades on all my food now.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the things that the guy said that we had to abolish it for. He's like, now that you have that one friend who has an AMC A-list, whenever you guys go see a movie, it's got to be like, oh, can we make sure it's an AMC? Because I have A-list.
So I absolutely pulled that move.
That has come up a couple times at work where hey, let's go watch the movie.
I wonder if I can find it. I'll just send it over to you.
No, I 100%. I've had it for 3 weeks, and I've already become that guy. Yep. But hey, good news.
It took you long enough. You've been living there for almost a year now.
Yeah.
And
I'm literally walking
right
distance.
by your house.
Yeah.
It's
12-minute walk.
You definitely lost money by not getting it for so long.
I did. And then yes, my wife was gracious enough to get it for me for my birthday, which was great. But then she only got it for me and not her. So it's like, oh, we're still paying for a movie ticket when you come along, but okay. But no, yeah, the A-list life. We get that yellow tape line instead of that red tape line, and it moves at exactly the same speed, so it's not really that much better. It's great. Yeah. But to my defense, when I saw Furiosa the other day, I did not see it at AMC, so I'm not that elitist yet. It hasn't fully sunk in. I'm only 3 weeks in. Give it a couple months. But I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse and paid money.
Sounds like you were Furiosa.
No. Well, I would prefer to see it at AMC. That's true.
Yeah.
But
Alamo the cool theater. Well, at least it was before they got rid of their Mondo selection or whatever that happened.
Oh, when they got rid of the whole.
It was cool when it was basically
store. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool when it was basically like a Mondo show floor. It's like, oh, they have some other puzzles here. Like, nothing I'd buy, but it's really cool to see it there. Because, the turtle stuff usually sells out pretty quickly.
Before we even get too far away from this, explain the 100-gram thing. What do you have against this classic candy that very few people I've ever met actually eat?
So, I never really heard of 100 grand until maybe about a month ago. And unsurprisingly, I guess it is one of the most not underrated, not very talked about chocolate bars. There's a whole bunch in that category.
Payday,
but yeah, Heyday, whatchamacallit, and
whatchamacallits are like Starburst thingies. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's
Hershey's Cookie and Cream specifically.
I wouldn't say that's underrated.
No,
but under talked about.
No,
under the radar, I guess.
That's
under the radar.
I think it gets its fair share of talk.
You know which one deserves a lot of love? Crackle.
The streaming service?
No, the candy. It's Hershey's equivalent to Crunch, but it's Crackle.
Oh yeah. I know what
red package. They're always in the Halloween variety packs.
Mm-hmm.
They're always the best thing
Crackle
in the bag.
with a K, right?
Kevin's with
it's
me.
like a
with
red
a C.
orange
With a C. But
I'm not necessarily with you.
With a K.
I just understand what you're talking about.
Okay, fair. No, yeah, you're right. It's with a K. I misspoke. Yes. But anyway, 100 gram. Let's walk you back.
I've only ever seen Crackles as like the tiny little mini bars.
I think that's the only form they come in.
Yeah.
Mr. Good Bar is another one that you rarely see as a full-size candy bar. But anyway, we digress.
I think there's like a Harmony bar or like Symphony bar.
Oh, yeah. What it was. Yeah. There's also all the like Cadbury ones, like the Dairy Milk one and the nut and fruit Cadbury chocolate bar if you want to pretend you're healthy.
I forgot what it is.
Symphony. Hershey Symphony.
Hershey Symphony?
Yeah.
I've never had that before.
Me neither. And I don't know what is in a perfect symphony of flavors. Like, I have no idea what's in it, to be honest. But we digress. Angel, 100 gram. You discovered a month ago. You hate it. Carry on.
Yeah. Well, no. More like indifferent. But essentially, one of my coworkers just so happens to really love 100 grand. And it just turns out that we have access to 100 grand. It just pops up like in a basket, like every other day. It just gets refilled, and with an assortment of chocolate, of different types of chocolate bars. But 100 grand is one of them. And I remember them like telling me, like, "Hey, you should try it." And I just remember looking at it, thinking like, "This looks like," even the logo looks like the brand of chocolate that I feel like my grandpa would pull out of his pocket or something like that.
It's like the chocolate version of a Werther's or Worthing or whatever it's called. Yeah.
What?
The little butterscotch candies that grandmas always have that now the McFlurry at McDonald's is themed around. Werther's. They're these little butterscotches. It's like the grandpa version. But
never heard of those, but I guess that proves my point.
Because you're young and spry. That's why.
That's true. I'm still very much young. But point is, living by my don't knock it till you try it at least. I gave it a shot. And you just start to bite into it and you're like, oh, it's kind of like a Crunch bar. Like, it's like a nice crunchy, I think it was like ricey exterior. But then you get through you get through that layer, and I think it's like caramel and nougat, and that's where it lost me. I guess I never really thought about it too much, like why I don't like Three Musketeers, Milky Way, Snickers, Twix, Butterfingers, and probably a bunch of others I can't remember. Pretty much anything that has caramel or nougat. I guess I'm just not a fan of it.
Snickers?
I don't like Snickers.
So when you're hungry, you don't grab a Snickers?
Friends after this.
Yeah, this is why I'm always moody.
This explains so much. If you just say Snickers, you turn into a fun celebrity of your choosing, but you never do.
I've tried it, and it just makes me angrier.
Oh,
but
you go Hulk? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. You turn into Edward Norton and or Mark Ruffalo. Interesting.
I like the taste of caramel as a flavor, like caramel protein shake, but not as like a chocolate bar that I don't know, maybe the chewiness, I don't know. But whatever it is, it just doesn't jive with me. Some people just don't like pickles for whatever reason. I'm sure they have their reasons, but some people do, some people don't. caramel and nougat is just something that just doesn't sit well with me. And I've given it a shot. I'll try it again maybe like once every couple weeks. And I'm like, no, I still don't.
How frequently do you doubt your own taste buds? On a few week basis, you go back and retry the thing you don't like.
I guess that's the other part. So this aforementioned coworker really likes 100 Grand. And, I kind of got the whole, song and dance of like, oh, how could you not like them, just some playful joshing on both ends, or I guess for my dislike of apparently like every chocolate. It came down to like, what chocolate do you like? And so what I started doing, and this is completely normal, and I shouldn't have prefaced that with it's completely normal.
That's not weird, guys.
I've essentially pretty much every day I'll go buy the 2 baskets in the 2 different kitchens where they could potentially have 100 Grand, and I've just been collecting all the 100 Grand and putting them in a clear lockbox that I have in the middle of our bay, and I think there's like 3,400 Grand in there. And my coworker really wants the 100 Grand, but they don't have the combination. And they were close to solving it once because it's only three digits. So I got some cables and a padlock. So now they would need to find the keys and then the combination. But the goal is just to fill up this clear lockbox with ideally 100 Grand. That'd be pretty cool. And because I have so many 100 Grand, occasionally I'm just like, I feel like a snack. I guess I'll try it. Nope, still no, and that's pretty much it. See? Very normal.
Yeah, this is psychopath behavior up there with how you consume television shows, like watching the end first, or whatever weird, watching them only through whatever weird stuff you do. This is right.
Well,
so you're
technically,
right.
it's not the end first, if it's also the end last, because it's first and last. The only time I've ever done a full season in reverse was, I think, whatever season of South Park was the one that introduced the member berries. Like, I watched that one.
You're
that
proving
one.
My point.
And the one with the ads. Like, admittedly, it was a little confusing watching the end and then going backwards.
Hold on, Angel, you can't start a sentence with the only time I've actually done that. No one else can say they've done it one time. You're already past the point of no return. You're already in psychopath territory by even saying you did it once. Kevin, have you ever done that? Have you ever watched Back to Front?
Have I ever what?
Have you ever watched like the end of the show to the start of the show in reverse? Episode by episode?
No.
Yeah, exactly. See, Angel, it's not normal. No offense. You're a great
Don't knock
friend,
it till you try it.
It's not normal. No, I'm knocking it. I'm knocking it. Nothing against you. You're a great friend, but you're also what? But how's your coworker feel about? I feel like this is like a weird intervention. How's your coworker feel about you taking all those 100 grand? Have you considered their?
They seem to be
feelings?
enjoying the fact that they don't know how far I was willing to go with this.
Now, when you say enjoying, is it like they're crying and you're like, oh, those are tears of joy, but they're actually tears of sorrow? Like, are you viewing this through a skewed lens because you have sociopathic tendencies? Is that what that means?
It's amicable at this point. There are some moments where they definitely do crave some 100 grand, but don't have access to 100 grand. So there maybe is like a but it passes. It's just candy. It's fine.
It's just candy.
Yeah, I mean, what led me to even get the safe, the clear safe box.
Oh, you bought the safe. It wasn't in the office. You seeked it out and spent your own money to do this.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so what led me to get the lockbox? So initially, I was just going to keep them on my desk, I just kept them out in the open. I thought, like, all right, honor system. My coworker won't grab one, even though he knows I'm not going to eat them. I'm just basically collecting 100 grand. And
again, not normal.
So one day when I stepped away and I came back, as I normally do, I check, that my things are nice in order, and I picked up one of the 100 grand, and it was empty. Like, my coworker just ate the 100 grand and put the wrapper back, but kind of like popped it back up, so it looked like it was still there. And I was like, all right. So they kind of lost the trust privilege right there. And, in my defense, actually, I'm not even trying to defend myself because I don't think there's nothing to defend. But if I may, someone grabs 100 grand, they eat it, they get some amount of enjoyment from it, right? Well, this is just how I enjoy 100 grand. I found a use for them. I pick it up, I put it in the lockbox, and I get I would argue, maybe more enjoyment than someone would if they eaten it. So I guess I could say I like 100 grand.
Is like,
I like hoarding 100 grand.
Murderer. This is like when you're watching Law and Order or something, you're like, oh yeah, he like skinned squirrels as a child. It's like, yeah, people may enjoy watching squirrels. I enjoy when I killed them. Like, it's like, obviously it's not that scale.
Why does it have to be something horrible? Why can't it be making cosplay for squirrels?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because that's not psychopath.
I'm not hurting anyone.
The joke doesn't work if it's friendly and fun. It only works if I make it sound twisted and sick, even though it's actually not that bad. It's kind of amusing.
I am literally only friendly. Fun, that's debatable, but
you are friendly.
Sure.
I will give you that, and you are a great friend. And I'm obviously just, as you said, joshing. I'm just joshing you, but it is a unique behavioral trait, shall we say? But
yeah, the funny thing is that it has gotten around the office that I do this, so some people have started like going like, "Oh, I need to watch out," or people started grabbing some of their candies in bulk, like some of the Twizzler sour or some of the sour straws, just because I have earmarked them as like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go after these next.
So you're doing a social experiment demonstrating the hoarder mentality that will happen when resources become limited.
Pretty much, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because 100 grand did not feel like I was eating 100 grand, or it did not make me feel like I had 100 grand. It was more like 100 grand in debt. But we're making it up.
Shout out to Heath bars, by the way. Have you guys ever had Heath bars? They're another one in this category.
I know I've seen them in stores because I've read the name, but they also sound to me like something the time my grandma would get. Like
and they're packaged as such as well. On. It's like a brown, boring.
Like Heath? Like font. Nothing about the name sounds like I want to eat you.
Yeah. But it has like
it sounds almost like a sound you make right before you puke.
No, not Heath. But it's like it like has like a molasses chip thing in the middle, I think. Something hard and crunchy.
Jesus.
But it's good. It's good. If there's a pile of Heath bars and you start stealing them, I will start hoarding them because I actually really like those. I like all the weird secondary candies in bags of Halloween candy.
Are you like a taffy person?
No, not really. I don't like that gets stuck to my teeth. Are you guys?
Not too much. I'll eat it sometimes. If someone said they made it,
What's your favorite type of candy, Kevin? Like, is it like sugary, chocolatey, chewy, hard?
My favorite is
French.
The theater. It's probably like a Snickers bar, like chocolate.
Okay, that's a more reasonable answer. Yeah.
Or that's what he calls it. That's short.
You're just setting yourself up for so much censoring on this episode.
so annoying. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm running on 1 hour of sleep today.
Oh, that explains it.
I'm glad I've retired from editing.
I will say there is a candy I recently discovered. I think it's called. I'm looking it up right now because I don't know what it's called. It's from Switzerland, and we got a big bag of it because one of Rachel's family members visited from Switzerland because her mom's side's from Switzerland, and it's called like Shugus or something like that. It's basically Starburst but a little harder, but they're actually really good. And we had a bag of 300 of them, and I have successfully from March till now gotten it down, or February till now gotten it down to 3 of them. So I've eaten 297 of these over a couple months, which if you do the math, that's multiple per day, every day on average. So
it's a lot.
Those are really pretty good. They're pretty. I mean, they're good. Like if you just want a little something to little tiny little candy thing, and they're individually wrapped, so it's really easy. But anyway, now that I do like
high chews.
High chews are the best of the Starburst class of candy, I would say. I feel like they're the most flavorful.
I prefer Now Leaders.
I haven't had those in a very long time.
I was gonna say I like the subtleness of some of the high chew. Like I like that they're not just like smacking you in the face with flavor. Now and Later is definitely.
I feel like high chew definitely.
I've only had one flavor of Now and Later, but they feel like they're harder. Like almost like I feel more angry eating them.
I feel frustration from them as well. I feel
like I want to hoard them and put them in a lockbox kind of feeling. Is
it like? See, that sounds like a sociopath out of context. Yeah, I just want to hoard it and put it in a lockbox that only I can access. It's
a vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Dahmer said in the 70s. It's a vibe. Yeah. are now in laters. Why are they called that? Is it because like it's a sucking candy to start, and then later it becomes chewy, and you get like 2 candies in one because they are much harder?
Because you're gonna eat one now and you're gonna eat one later. I don't know.
It kind of makes more sense. Yeah. Well, anyway.
What were we
Any other
talking
candy
about?
thoughts, gentlemen? Or now that we have our concession, should we head into the movies?
I haven't been to them. Sorry.
Well, there's a lot of movies. There's one you've seen that's on here that Kevin just saw that I have yet to see because it just came to Netflix.
That's true.
So maybe you could still chime in, Angel.
I did watch 30
Minus-
minutes of that on Sunday.
But you've already seen the whole thing too, right?
Yeah, twice already. Well,
I have
like
yet to
2.5
see it
times.
because I told you I'd watch it with you. So
Yeah, and I'm still
held
down.
back. Yeah. But in the interim, Kevin, you just saw Godzilla Minus One, right?
Yes, I did.
So what did you think of it?
I really, really enjoyed it. This did the one thing that and not entirely all of the MonsterVerse movies, and I'm going to talk about the MonsterVerse a lot here because obviously that is the most
It's hard not to.
relevant. The most relevant parallel. I mean, this movie, story-wise, definitely blows those movies out of the water. It's a simple movie. It's Godzilla as a force of nature versus, I don't know if it's necessarily versus humans, but Godzilla is definitely not the homie in this movie. Godzilla
Literally a
is
walking metaphor.
yeah, Godzilla is just he's a bad guy in this movie. Something that I do like, and this might be sort of spoilerish, but he shows up way quicker in the movie than I thought he was going to. Like, really, really quickly into the movie, he shows up. I was like, man, I was not expecting that. I was very much expecting sort of this slow burn, similar to like 2014 Legendary Godzilla.
Like where it's kind of like fleeting shots of
Yeah,
him,
more
and at the
like
end
more
it's
like a
there he
Jaws,
is.
more like a Jaws.
It's like, oh, we're gonna see a kaiju. Oh, it's a what? A Muto? And then it's like,
Yeah, and here it's like, nope. Here is Godzilla, front and center, ready for his close-ups. The human story I thought was done really, really well. Something that the MonsterVerse can only dream of. I think King of the Monsters tried to go for something a little bit more prestige. And man, that movie just wishes that it had this, it had Minus One story. The ending I'm a little divided on, and not necessarily how the movie ends, but like the final shot of the movie, I'm a little divided on. Just because
I know how you feel.
it's very similar to another Godzilla movie that was released, and that other movie was also good in its own right, but it definitely felt a little
Was
derivative.
it Shin?
I don't want to say because then
Okay.
I would spoil the
All right,
ending.
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
I don't. Yeah, Jason. I will say that both of those pretty similar overall. I mean, in general premise, just
Godzilla.
that's all
But they're I would say they're very different movies though.
they're yeah. I mean,
Shin Godzilla is more of a drama than it is a kaiju movie. Regardless, one aspect that this might be a little hot take. This might be a little bit of a hot take for me is I kept reading about how this movie CG was amazing.
It won Oscar.
It won the Oscars for best visual effects, and don't get me wrong, the for its budget, the movie looks great. That being said, I kept watching this movie and being like, I mean, yeah, it looks really good for a $10 million movie, but it's nothing crazy. Like, there's some spots where the CG is very video gamey, like video game cutscene-ish, and like it's like I said, it looks great. But I was also sort of expecting something along the lines of, crap, the movie just came out and you're talking about it. The Planet of the Apes movies, like the most recent ones, where those movies look fantastic. Those movies look amazing.
That's also,
and of course,
very different budget for sure.
Yeah, and that movie and those movies have an insane budget. But when I kept hearing these people say, "Man, this movie looks way better than these $100,000 million movies," absolutely not. You guys, they are. It absolutely looks better than some of the $100 million movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania. It definitely looks better than that movie. But to say that, yeah, it
not
looks
a high bar. Not a high bar.
Exactly, not a high bar. And sure, you can make the comparison there where, yeah, this movie looks better than that. But, like, to say that it blows the water out of some of modern movies, like, no. And of course,
nice pun.
And yeah, and of course it's because of its $10 million budget. But, like, I kept watching this movie and be like, yeah, this looks really good for a $10 million movie. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it looks freaking amazing. You know? Like,
yeah, I mean,
unfortunately,
overall,
it's not in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, I think, I guess thankfully for me, since I saw it, you know, like, there was no way I wasn't going to watch it as soon as it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the luxury of barely hearing any impressions whatsoever.
Right.
Like, I think I only heard from one other coworker, and it was literally just like, oh yeah, like I'll definitely watch it. I'll wait until you watch it to say anything. Like, that's like the most context I got beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like visually, like I loved Godzilla specifically. I thought looked great a lot of the time, especially towards the beginning when you see Jesse their head above the water. Like,
oh yeah, that looks really good,
man. Like that head popping out,
definitely looks real.
That is,
that's
but
still they sent out for the Netflix debut, and I was like, "Ooh, look at that!" And that's the most.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, there were some shots. I think like every time that I watched it, I'm like, maybe it'll look better next time or something. But there's a shot of like them just the camera pointing at the water, and the water looked. I almost want to say bad. Like it just looked straight up CG, like just like the way wave like moved up and down.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say like everything else is like fine. Especially Godzilla's like of course it's not really a spoiler to say that he goes to the city. I think that's also
it was in the first trailer when he attacks Ginza.
But I thought that was like pretty good overall. I think Godzilla's design, the fact that he was pretty much in the day most of the time too. Actually, that's I guess it's the great thing about technology nowadays, where the first two legendary Godzillas. I never minded it too much, but people seem to really have a problem that Godzilla was most of the time either at night or in a heavy storm or something like that.
Yeah, to hide some of the detail on him. Yeah,
which I guess maybe because my brother and I had seen a couple of Godzilla movies where a lot of them took place during the day. For us, we thought it's kind of like, oh, it's a nice change of pace, Godzilla at night. But I guess we want to show us the monster kind of thing.
Would you guys?
I thought it made King Ghidorah look badass half the time.
Would you guys say that the reason it won the Oscar wasn't necessarily it had the pinnacle special effects, but it was the best, to use an Angel term, yum to buck ratio of special effects? I
would say so. Like I said,
that's a very great way of putting it.
Like I said, it looks great. Like for to be on a budget of $10 million and look this good is really, really impressive. But at the same time, like, people don't blow this movie's,
blow smoke up Godzilla's tail.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Or be the.
Yeah, don't be the.
What? God, this episode. Okay, yeah.
I don't have to censor that part. Nothing. We're not implying anything.
No, that was above board.
Yeah, it looks great, but it's not it wasn't this amazing visual feast that people are hyping it up to be. That's really my only big criticism, and it's not even a criticism directed towards the movie. That's just more of, it sucks for me because I went in this going, especially with that scene of Godzilla's head coming out of the water. We're like, damn, this movie's gonna look this good the entire time. Like, no, not necessarily. Like, the compositing in some of the shots in Ginza were really, really bad. But even as bad as they look, they still look better. Like, I mean, the big ones are going to be like Love and Thunder and Quantumania, because those were CGI trash fires.
How does that even happen?
Love and Thunder was rough.
It's shorter
It's shorter turnaround time with a more demanding schedule.
Yeah.
So even Planet of the Apes, people were saying that this one, I didn't notice this too much, but people were saying that this one the monkeys didn't look quite as good as they did in past ones because it had a tighter turnaround because these special effects studios are being stretched too thin.
Interesting. So
yeah,
but
it's still great.
Overall, this movie minus one, fantastic. But not much more to say aside from that.
I'm glad that I heard these thoughts from you before I watched it, because now I've readjusted my expectations in terms of the visuals.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And but like everything else surrounding
like, all right, so right above Madam Web, got it.
God, that movie's visuals were terrible. Oh, Angel,
if you
by the
want
way.
to talk about... Or go ahead.
So, gentlemen, I did it again. Do you remember when I talked about Persona 3 Reload and how I bought the physical edition?
Yes.
And how I can't really play it because I have a discless PS5?
Yeah.
So,
did you again
PS5.
buy a game that you can't
hold on. No,
Okay.
I didn't. But Amazon was having a buy 3 for $33 deal on 4K Blu-rays. And so the movies that I bought were 1917 because that movie's I love that movie.
That one looks great. Yeah.
I bought Edge of Tomorrow because that movie.
Okay, good choice.
I don't know how that movie will fare up nowadays visually.
I did like it at the time a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Back when it was called Edge of Tomorrow, not Live Die Repeat.
Yeah, and the third one that I bought was Godzilla King of the Monsters because visually, out of all of them, King of the Monsters probably has the best like visuals and cinematography of the MonsterVerse movies. And once again, I realized, hey, I don't have a Blu-ray player at all. So, Angel, can I come over one day with the 4K Blu-ray of King of the Monsters?
Oh yeah, of course.
And because it's a 4K Blu-ray, the bit rate will look way, way better than it would like streaming.
Do I have the 4K? Probably not, because I must have bought King of the Monsters when the 4K wasn't available.
Yeah. So I got that, and hopefully it looks awesome because, like I said, it'll probably blow streaming out of the water.
Its use of color, I remember being really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially that final fight still.
It's definitely the best looking one. You know what? Godzilla vs. Kong does have that fight in Hong Kong.
The neon light fight. That's what
that fight alone does so much for the movie.
Every time I think of the Godzilla Kong franchise, I think of that fight, and I think how badly I want that to be like a playable, like Destroy All Monsters Melee 2 like game. Like it was so perfect for that. No one ever developed it into anything.
Giga Bash is there with Godzilla characters. It pretty much did that. Not quite like that, but it's
I want them to take the GameCube game, Destroy All Monsters Melee, put it in HD, take that scene,
put it
that's
in the
what
Giga Bash is,
and re-release it.
In that case.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah. That's what Giga Bash is. It's literally Destroy All Monsters Melee perspective with a bunch of original monsters, but they eventually got the Toho license, so you now have a bunch of Godzilla monsters in there. Throw buildings at each other, do special moves.
Should we try this sometime?
It's pretty fun.
Dude, Godzilla's just been showing up in everything. He was just in
He's everywhere. Dave the
Diver. Didn't they announce a Minecraft collab as well?
Yep.
That was a little while ago, but yeah, that was pretty in-depth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Godzilla's been getting around just like the Turtles.
Definitely
Godzilla just collabed with... They just had a Godzilla versus the Justice League, Godzilla versus the Power Rangers. Those are a thing in comics, so...
There's a renaissance of a certain type of IP.
He'll probably show up in Godzilla. Fortnite and
Godzilla is supposed to show up in multiverses.
Gundams in Call of Duty. Like, there is a lane of IPs that are getting all these mainstream crossovers now. Godzilla being, like, at the tip of the spear, so to speak. But if you want to talk about CG that did not look up to par with things you might have seen in the past from the franchise, can I talk about Furiosa?
Sure.
So, Furiosa was one of a few movies I saw in the last couple of weeks. And do you guys know much about Furiosa or Fury Road or any of the Mad Max stuff?
So
I rewatched Fury Road last week. That movie still kicks all the ass.
Yeah. Fury Road is awesome. And yes, Angel, Furiosa is the prequel to Fury Road. And as a prequel, it's a bit of a different movie in that it's not so much like Fury Road's basically one giant chase scene. If you think about it, like they go one way, then they go another way, then they go this way, then they go that way. And it's just like action, 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 really cool set pieces. And it's really like it has a story and it has a premise, Furiosa kidnaps the wives, Joe wants him back, like et cetera, or not kidnaps, but tries to free, et cetera. But it's very much just like action set pieces. Furiosa is more like trying to do kind of a world building, sort of like here's some more looks at parts of like you see Gasville or whatever it's called, Gastown, not Gasville. You see Gasville, like you get to go these places and see these things that they reference in the first one, and that's all fine. But because it's not Fury Road 2, as I was kind of expecting it to be, it definitely felt like a step down. I think where it was most noticeably the step down was the CG. Because Fury Road was a lot of practical shot stuff. They intermix CG really subtly and really well. There's apparently a ton of CG in Fury Road, but it's so well mixed in with the practical effects and practical stunts that you barely notice it. Everything's like really shot in like these dusty, duny deserts of Australia. At Furiosa, I couldn't tell you if it was on location or on a soundstage. There's so many scenes. Well, first of all, the like color grading and like the palette they go with, everything just feels more comic booky. Like it kind of has like a 300 vibe in how it looks, which means that like there's a lot of stuff that almost looks like really obvious green screen. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like it felt very like a step down from the visuals of Fury Road. And I was really surprised. I know the trailer's kind of if you watch the trailer, you'll be like, oh, this looks a little different than Fury Road. It's maybe a little more CG, but man, it's like night and day. And George Miller, the director, still does some cool shots and compositions and stuff within that space of it being now very CG heavy. But man, after Fury Road, I was just like, this feels like a step back. And what makes it even weirder, it's not really a spoiler, it's a prequel. So in the credits for Furiosa, they intermix clips of Fury Road. Like it's like a fan cam of Fury Road just mixed into the credits. And the second they started showing that, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks way better. Oh yeah, look at that stunt. That was way more iconic. Oh, that was way cooler. And it was just like, why would you remind people of the movie they could have been watching when you after 2.5 hours of Furiosa? So I thought that was really strange. But that said, the movie overall, like, yeah, I think in the same way that it probably would have helped if you didn't see Minus One after everyone was like, oh, the special effects are so good. I think for me, something that kind of dampened my Furiosa experience was I kept hearing people saying, oh, it's the best, it's George Miller, it's the best thing since Fury Road, it's right up there, it's so close to the same. It's really not. It does some interesting stuff. It has a lot more dialogue. Chris Hemsworth has a lot of fun doing whatever that voice he's doing. And
speaking of dialogue, doesn't the titular Furiosa not really talk?
She does talk more. See, that's another thing. People are like, oh, she only screams once. She has some lines, but not a lot. But then again, in Fury Road, Max himself doesn't talk a whole lot.
Yeah, Max had like 10 lines in that movie.
Yeah, and I would say Furiosa has maybe 12 or 13 in this one. So maybe she's a little ahead of that even, which kind of fits the whole, this one's more expanding and lore building and world building. And this one's kind of presented more as like, it's actually kind of interesting. Like Mad Max is very like real time. Like, okay, this happens and this happens and this happens. Furiosa spans like probably a decade and a half or so, and has like, it almost kind of presents itself like, here's the telling of the tale of Furiosa. Like, it's like the stuff of legend. So, like, there's some stuff where they kind of gloss over, well, how exactly did that happen? Because it doesn't matter. It's about this mythology of this Furiosa person who became this big figure in the wastelands of, So that was kind of interesting that even the narrative device was different than Fury Road. So really, even though the movie leads up in a way that feels like Fury Road becomes kind of the epilogue of Furiosa, it feels like they're told very differently, they're shown very differently, they're shot very differently. The stunts, there's nothing to me that's as iconic as Fury Road. Like, think about all the shows and movies and even the Mario movie, referencing Fury Road's like set pieces. Nothing here that I feel like would jump out in that same way. And maybe it's because they already did it with Fury Road, so it's kind of more of the same. It's like sequelitis, where it's like, oh, the first thing, Into Spider-Verse was so cool because we've never seen anything like it. Across the Spider-Verse is really cool, but it's kind of more of the same. Like, maybe it's that situation where it's like, oh, well, we've seen it before, so it's not as, like, doesn't grab you in the same way now because it's not as surprising or different. But, like, they had, like, a 12, 15-minute set piece in the middle with a war rig that was pretty cool, but, like, it did not hit in the same way that I feel like all of Fury Road hit when I saw that. So, but yeah, your CG comments just remind me of, like, wow, Furiosa is such a different visual vibes than Fury Road, and I was surprised just by how different it ended up being. The movie's still enjoyable. It's a little messy at times, like pacing wise, but I still liked it enough, I guess. But I was just, I think it's one of those things where it's like, don't let the internet kind of get you too hyped or too unhyped. Like, go into every movie blind, or as close to blind as you can, and that's probably how you're going to end up getting the truest experience. Case in point, there's a different movie I watched on a whim. It was only available on streaming platforms, I think, or not streaming, for rent, like Amazon Prime or whatever. It's called The Last Stop in Yuma County. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just saying that is the example of a movie where you know nothing and you go in and you're in for a ride and you come out like, whoa, okay, wow, yeah. And that's the most I'll say about that. But my point is, like, it'd be nice if even these big blockbusters can go, a little more in the direction of especially if they're going to be so different from their predecessors, if they can just, like, and that's somewhat on me to have, like, a media blackout. But even with the limited, like, I only watched the first of the 3 trailers and stuff like that, and it still was kind of like, I feel like my expectations were too high. So I don't know if that's the movie's fault, the culture's fault. I don't know. But yeah, Furiosa is definitely
sounds like I dodged a sniper bullet.
Not a sniper bullet, but it definitely was, like, a little, not as visually interesting, a little longer than it needed to be pacing-wise.
But it definitely sounds like something I'd enjoy more just watching on the couch with some friends.
Yeah, maybe. Like I saw some people being like, oh, you have to see it in IMAX. And there's not a single shot in that movie that's filmed in IMAX. So I feel like I got the same experience, essentially, on a normal screen. And I was kind of like,
everybody
sure.
right now, there is not a single movie I could think of that you have to see in IMAX.
Well, I would say Civil War had amazing audio in IMAX.
No,
like the gunshots were
that's
so.
The worst example.
Yeah. Well, you're the worst example. No, but Civil War had like the gunshots were. Is George defending you or me?
It's funny because you can hear Angel tapping the button.
Yeah. He's priming up George to go crazy. But yeah, so that was kind of Furiosa, and just the way you're describing the CG in Minus One just immediately made me think of my Furiosa experience. So I thought I'd jump in there with that. But I will say, like, Angel, you were saying, oh, it's probably a movie worth seeing, like, just seeing at home. And I immediately was like, yeah. But by that same token, I kind of wish it and stuff like The Fall Guy, which is also just, like, a fun popcorn flick. Like, I wish... It actually has a bunch of Comic-Con. Like, there's a through line in the plot about Comic-Con Hall H, which I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. I've been there multiple times. It's like second home. But I wish movies were doing a little better right now. Like, the box office had the worst performance in like 42 years over Memorial Day weekend because of Furiosa and the Garfield movie. But it just kind of sucks that, like, we are at the point where we could just say, yeah, we'll just watch it at home, and that does take away from some sort of theater experience. Like, yeah, Furiosa CG wasn't as good, but, like, it was still bombastic and the sound was still kind of cool. Or, like, Fall Guy, it was still fun to watch with a crowd for the, like, people, for the communal, like, laughter and all that. Like, I don't know. There is something cool, says the A-list member, about going to the theater. And it kind of sucks that all these movies that are coming out, even if they're a little below what I initially hoped they would be, like Furiosa, or better than I thought they'd be, like Fall Guy. I just wish they were all doing a little better, because that would just mean more stuff in theaters, So it's just kind of, I feel like theaters are on, like, hobbling along, especially this year. Apparently box office is down like $700 million so far in 2024 compared to last year. Granted, it doesn't have Barbie and Mario, but, nonetheless, I like the theater experience, so it kind of sucks. But,
it'd be what it be.
Yeah, it'd be what it be. But speaking of the theater experience, there is one other movie I wanted to mention before we move past movies. This one does sort of tie into video games, too, though, in a weird way. the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a long name. Either of you guys see it?
No, I actually...
Kingdom of the Planet of the Country of the Apes? No.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Country of the Apes, of the planet of the place where the apes are. Yeah.
No, I just recently saw, what was it, Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes, like maybe the week that this movie came out, just because I...
Oh, so you like just completed the trilogy, so
yeah,
to speak.
well, I saw
trilogy.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes in theaters with our buddy Matthew back, when I think we were either in middle school or high school at that time. But I just never got around to seeing those other two, and I just saw those two, and man, those are good-ass movies.
Yeah. The Planet of the Apes series, I feel like, is one that everyone like that has seen. It's like, yeah, that's really good, but it doesn't have like the groundswell to be like, yeah, Planet of the Apes, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have like that top tier placement in the zeitgeist. But no, it's a great series. Yeah. So with that, I won't spoil anything here. But Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is sort of, I wouldn't call it a reboot or a reset, but it's a start of a new story in the same world. It's a few hundred years later, I think. Maybe not 100. It's some years later. And without really giving away too much, I went into it with like two things in mind, which was one, watching a Planet of the Apes movie because I really enjoyed the franchise, and two, the director is Wes Bell, whose next project is the Legend of Zelda movie. So it's really interesting to watch it, not just to see like, well, what are they doing with Planet of the Apes after concluding the Caesar story arc, but also what's this guy doing with this, and what does that mean for how Zelda will turn out in terms of Wes Bell's direction. And I think both are pretty promising. I will say, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I will say Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes it is sort of, in terms of the story, in terms of the themes, in terms of like humans versus apes and apes versus humans, it is kind of a soft reset in terms of where they're going to go from here in terms of how the two parties interact with one another. But yeah, the movie's basically like you have a new main ape, kind of in a way like a Caesar replacement. And it sort of starts as like the hero's journey where he has to like go out solo and like do his thing, and he meets another ape along the way who's an orangutan who has an awful similar personality / presence as Maurice, who I loved in the original trilogy. He's not the same as Maurice, but they're similar. Like they're making all the orangutans kind of these like wise, slightly wacky, off-kiltery, but very gentle characters. So he shows up, and now that's kind of like, oh, cool, here's the Maurice of the new trilogy, I guess, and we have our new Caesar, and everything starts falling into place. But yeah, what was really interesting was watching it from the perspective of like, well, what's this mean for Zelda? And I swear, because of that hero's journey like start they're doing, and because of like how they kind of paced it out, this felt like a proof of concept unofficially for what West Bell could do with Zelda. I mean, he hails from a village that is like this tiny hillside village that looks an awful lot like in terms of how developed or undeveloped it is. It's very similar to kind of like what's it called? Where Link starts in all the Zelda games. Not Kakarot, that's a Pokemon. Can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. You know what I'm talking about? The village at the beginning of Ocarina of Time, and it's obviously popped up in Elder Zeldas like Breath of the Wild.
Kokiri Village?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. No, not Kokiri, Kakariko, I'm thinking. Or Kokiri. Either one. But
Kokiri is literally the start, but yeah, Kakariko
and then Kakariko is the slightly more developed one to the west, to the east of Hyrule Castle and Ocarina.
Wow.
It's somewhere in between those two. So I was thinking Kakariko, but then I described Kokiri, and that's where my mind got frazzled in terms of what it's called. But no, like it's this little like village, and he's saying off. It feels very kind of Zelda-y, and he's riding a horse, which is just him and the horse, and like just kind of going off into like the wilderness. And then there's some climbing segments where it looks like Breath of the Wild, where you can like literally in your head just instantly see the little climbing gauge. And then there's an owl that basically guides him on where to go at the start, just like in Ocarina of Time. Like there's so many little things. I'm like, yeah, that could easily be Zelda. Or yeah, that makes sense. That could be Link. Oh yeah, I can see how I could do that. If anything, it actually feels kind of like Zelda crossed with like Horizon or something, in terms of like the aesthetic of the beginning of Kingdom of the Apes. But Kingdom of Planet of the Apes. Maybe some of the early set pieces, like who he encounters when he's saying off on his own, like it's kind of like, oh yeah, it feels like an ambush in Zelda or something. Like it was so easy to see how West Bell could successfully pull off a Zelda, because he was basically pulling off a Zelda with the first like third of this movie. And even honestly, even the later parts where he encounters the antagonist and ends up in like a bigger, where the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is, like that could easily be like, like the Gerudo or something. Like it was just so easy to see the parallels, and it gave me a lot of confidence that West Bell, assuming he's given good material, he can at least sculpt it into visually and aesthetically and probably sonically into a very Zelda-like experience that will feel true to Zelda, because Planet of the Apes kind of already felt like it. So if he just does more of that, and there's a good story behind it, and he gets the right cast, like we're golden. Like it will be a good movie. So that was actually kind of a nice reassurance out of this movie. But yeah, besides that, it's I don't know if it reaches the same highs as the original trilogy, at least not yet. It's only the first of multiple, presumably, stories, so we'll see. But it's off to a good start. It's interesting, again, not spoiling anything, but it's kind of interesting how they tie it back with Caesar and kind of leverage the story of Caesar in this one, and how different people interpret him differently and things like it. Yeah, they did a good job. But like I said, I came out of there, I was just like, oh yeah, West Bell, Zelda, that makes total sense. And I shouldn't have been surprised, because he actually did a pretty good job with Maze Runner as well, which was like the one teen like dystopian movie series I actually watched all of, like as it came out. I think I saw the first one in theaters with one of our friends, and then the others I ended up watching just like on demand, but like when it came out later. Those had surprisingly good set pieces. The maze itself, kind of, come to think of it, fits the aesthetic of what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes does, and could be sort of what's now a Zelda aesthetic, with kind of like the tech combined with like nature and stuff. So yeah, this guy might have actually been a really good pick, and the movie was fun. So that's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
I'm sure I will get to it once the next trilogy.
Yeah, you'll watch it in like 8 years. Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's a fun movie. And again, it's one of those things that, like, this one seems to be doing better at the box office, but it's just like, I wish more people would, like, reward these movies, because even if the CG isn't up to par, or even if this, that, or the next thing, like, at least they're being made. And who knows if they'll keep getting made or get any money thrown at them if they don't do well. So go see movies, I guess, is my point. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I had for King of Planet of the Apes. I don't know. What do we want to talk about next, gents? Angel, I know you've got some stuff going on with Lorcana, or you've had stuff going on with Lorcana, if we want to pivot from movies to card games based on characters from movies.
I'll raise your suggestion and pivot it completely.
Oh, okay.
So recently, I finally, let's see, how long has it been? It's been a couple months, but yeah, I finally beat another game this year, which is Tales of Xilia, which longtime listeners may know as a game I've seemed to have been playing for many years. According to the earliest save that we have in Tales of Xilia, it was June 2019 when we started that game.
Just pre-pandemic.
Oh my god. Different lifetime.
Yeah.
Also, this was not a pivot.
Yep.
This was a full-on just, I'm talking about something completely unrelated. Bye. Like, this is not a pivot. You just switch topics. But go ahead.
So this game has, been cooking for a while, and then because I guess every time you complete a chapter, you get an achievement. We're also able to see about how long it took us to get through each chapter, and it was usually about a year or two between chapters. There was only 4 chapters, but a year or two between each chapter. Roughly came out to like the 5-6 years it took us to beat this game. Nothing really against the game. It's just an RPG that requires your full attention. Things get busy. Also, actually, more than anything, it's the fact that it's a game that my brother and I played together from beginning to end, which, requires coordination. Usually on my part, if I'm too busy, or if I'm free, they're busy. And, it just happens. We've had to watch many, many video recaps at different points just to catch up to where we were, so we wouldn't have to start over, because we have had to do that at least twice with Tales of Graces, which we played and beat before that on PS3. So this was the last PS3 Tales game that we have. We still own 3 more Tales games that we still have to get through, but, one at a time. So Tales of Graces.
So 2035, you'll have them all done, it sounds like, if you keep at this pace.
At this rate, but...
Yeah.
We
Nothing
seem
wrong
to have
with that.
found a nice, but we seem to have found a nice rhythm. So I think the next one definitely won't take us as long. But it was a fun game. It was challenging for sure. This is definitely the hill I chose to die on as far as whether you play the Tales games or the Final Fantasy games. Some people play both. But I'm only just now, or I guess, damn, it takes me forever to get through RPGs, because I started Final Fantasy VII Original on the Switch in January of last year. And I think I'm only 15 hours in. So, yeah, so it takes me a while. It took us about 50 hours to beat this game. And, oh my god, that final boss. Like, if the combat is a real-time action, so, you're controlling your character, moving around. There are 4 characters on the field at once. You could direct them to heal, to attack, to do combo attacks. But towards the end, for whatever reason, they just introduced this mechanic that if you take damage from certain attacks, you lose control of your character, and your character will actually start to attack your other teammates. So suddenly we were just kind of thrusted into like having to deal with this, on top of also not being able to heal or do stuff like that. So it was a fun challenge. But the game, unlike other Tales games, has you pick between 1 or 2 protagonists. And so essentially they want you to play through the campaign twice, because there are maybe 3 points where they split up, albeit for not that long. And I would say for 80% of it, it doesn't even really feel like it mattered who you picked, because even when they do split up, like, nothing really happens of feel of consequence that you're like, oh, I wonder what they were up to. It's like, oh, we just split up in this dungeon and now we're regrouped. But the third time you split up and you come back, suddenly the other character comes back with a completely different character, and this other character got into this fallout, and this other character almost died, and you're like, wait, what the heck? So, yeah, we did have to watch like a recap for that, but we're not going to play through the whole game again just to get that context. There was a lot of craziness at the end. It definitely felt like you really were supposed to play it twice, but yeah, I would have almost preferred they just made the game longer and have us play through both parts, or just figure out some other way to make that work. Because, I don't know, making you play a 50-plus hour RPG twice to get the full story feels kind of evil, even if you could skip the cutscenes. But, you know, some people do. I know some people go back and do the New Game Plus and fight all the hidden bosses and all that stuff, but, you know, we're ready and finally happy to be able to move to a Tales game that's on the PS4 so that we can finally put the PS3 to rest. But, as always, fun voice acting, fun snappy combat, and, yeah, it's a nice reminder why I love the Tales series. Looking forward to playing, I think, Berseria next, then Zestiria, and then Vesperia. I think that's the one that came out on the Switch and other consoles, but it's a remake of an Xbox One. And eventually I guess I'll play Tales of Arise, but I want to say that's actually a single player game, which is weird because they've been all multiplayer games up to that point, which, you know, it's kind of disappointing. Just means we'll have to play.
Wait, so are you guys skipping Tales of Xilia too?
We skipped all the sequels. We didn't play. I never played Symphonia 2. We're skipping Xilia 2 just because we're kind of tired of playing on the PS3. We also don't have Xilia 2, but knowing that and we could have purchased it, we're just like, no, let's just not play on PS3.
Yeah, because I don't think Xilia 2 has anything to really do with Xilia 1.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, like, just like Tales of Symphonia 2, like, they're just not as necessary. Like,
Symphonia 2 was definitely a cash grab.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
Xilia 2 doesn't seem like a cash grab. It just seems like its own game.
And Xilia 1, the way it wraps up everything at the end feels very definitive. Like they tie a nice bow on everything. Like nothing is literally left like, oh, I wonder. I mean, sure, it's like, you know, the main character starts off the game going like, oh, I want to help people and be a doctor. And maybe it's not too much of a spoiler to say like, oh, you know, he kind of ends the story going like, now I am a doctor helping people and doing research. So it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's a nice happy ending. Everyone gets what they want, sort of. But yeah, just looking forward to playing the next games and just seeing how they keep building on that. Although the remake Vesperia, I guess, will be a couple of steps back because I think it's more like Symphonia. But yeah, that'll be interesting. Maybe we should play that one next before we go to Zestiria and Berseria. But yeah, that's what I did recently. Finished a game that took me 6 years, but that's what we do. We don't give up.
And that's Angel's thoughts on hit Disney-themed card game Lorcana.
So, Jason, when are you going to finish one of your games? I mean...
You can't put me on a spot like this. I don't know.
I mean, the last one you finished was Link Between Worlds?
No.
How many years ago?
No.
For the
Maybe?
podcast?
No. Maybe?
Because before that...
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I finished Sayonara Wild Hearts. I finished...
Sayonara
Wild
Hearts is like a 1 hour game.
Hey, I finished it. You know what?
Yeah.
One was the game.
I guess.
Yeah, but I don't count that.
Oh,
I mean, like a game with
what's it
meat
called?
in it.
The game with the house, and you play as all the family members, and you learn what happened.
That one is also a ridiculously short game.
Yeah, but what is that? What's that?
The Death of Eden Finch.
Yeah,
I love that game.
Yeah, what happened?
What happened to
you? Yeah, I love that game so much. I forgot its name, but no, I really do love that game. Yeah, no, I have found, and I was
maybe a 2 hour game. But,
I was just saying this. No, that one was like 3 or 4. It double.
Basically, if you could finish it in one sitting, you could.
I was saying this to someone that I'm finding I do gravitate towards shorter experiences because
you don't like to invest your time in games. You like to invest it in TV
like
shows that you can do passively.
Okay, yeah, actually, you're not too far removed. Yeah, it is nice to like be able to be like, I'm going to start and finish a thing, or do something that doesn't have like to finish, like Mario Kart 8, or like something where it's just like it's always kind of there. Like, but yeah, it's I'm finding, with the exception of like a Mario Wonder or stuff like that, that I kind of am gravitating more towards those.
Wait, you beat Mario Wonder?
No, but that's when I do
exception?
want to beat. That's when I do want to beat per our last episode. When you asked a similar question of what do you want to beat, and now this seems like you're doing some sort of follow up of, well, did you beat it? And the answer is not yet. But I am finding I do gravitate towards like shorter, more compact experiences of late. Yeah, I don't know. I like doing a thing or two, I guess. Which isn't to say I won't enjoy playing other stuff. Like, I'm excited to pick up Super Monkey Ball in a couple weeks for the Switch. The new one, Banana Mania. Sorry, Banana Rumble. Mania is the last one. Banana Rumble, yeah. The first fully new Super Monkey Ball in, like, over a decade.
Still built on Unity?
Yeah, but it sounds like they might have adjusted the physics a lot based on the feedback from Banana Rumble.
I feel like the fact that it's on Unity shouldn't mean too much as long as they...
It looks like it's on Unity. Like, it looks like it's the same engine as Banana Mania was. But what's interesting about this one is, so there's like 200 new levels, there's a story mode that strings them together, and then there's kind of a like, and I'll talk about it more once I've played it, but they're injecting a little of like Fall Guys or like those kind of Battle Royale, like totally customize your character, like have the monkey in the ball, look however you want, go in these massive multiplayer online things where like you're all rolling towards the goal or you're all doing this or next thing, but there's like 16 of you or something. So it's kind of an interesting riff on the multiplayer. We'll see how it holds up, but even if the multiplayer isn't as strong as like Monkey Target used to be, there's still a full single player game with 200 levels and like 8 new worlds or something. So, you know, I got that coming down the pipe to look forward to, and that's one that's, you know, I think easier to just pick up and play for a while and then put back down. So, yeah,
nice.
So that's your answer. Yeah, but while I'm on topic of games that feel the need to turn into Fall Guys and these kind of online multiplayer, you know, I got to try the other day.
What did you get to try the other day?
Pac-Man. I don't know its full name. Pac-Man Tunnel Battle Chomp Champs. Pac-Man Tunnel Battle Chomp Champs, I think is its full name. This was a Pac-Man game that started on Stadia. Remember when Stadia was a thing for like a minute?
Some of our friends had that.
Yes, that's true. It was an online 64-player Pac-Man game, kind of a battle royale, where, sure enough, you get to customize your little Pac-Man and get different accessories and items and stick them on your Pac-Man, and whoever can survive the longest in these online rounds wins through rounds that shrink down the player base. How Chomp Champs works is, and this is what kind of took the place of Pac-Man 99. Like, they shut that down for Switch Online and they rolled out Chomp Champs. And how Chomp Champs works is you start in your maze, whatever maze you're in, you know, you and your ghosts and your power pellets, but that maze has gates that open up after a certain number of seconds to let you go into someone else's maze. So you can try to either, you know, get all your pellets and kill all your ghosts and whatever, or you can go and sabotage someone else's by eating their pellets or getting their power pellet or like getting a power up in there that makes their ghost go faster towards them or something like that. These power ups kind of land randomly around the maze. Some help you, you know, repel ghosts or do certain things. Some help some help the ghosts, you know, they become faster or whatever, which means they're actually helping you by hurting the other pack players theoretically. But yeah, it's kind of this interesting mix of like normal Pac-Man, Pac-Man 99, and kind of some of the elements of like Fall Guys or those sorts of sort of massively multiplayer kind of battle royale, but you're kind of on your own, but you're kind of not sort of multiplayer games. And I haven't played a ton of it because I was only playing a demo. I went to Pac-Man's birthday party. They did a pop-up here in LA. It was actually a really cool pop-up. They did a pop-up here in LA last weekend for 2 days. It's called like Pac-Man Shine On LA. Shine On is this whole marketing campaign they're doing for Pac-Man to kind of revive the IP and get him in more places and doing more stuff. So this was his 44th birthday. You know, that milestone birthday everyone always talks about, 44th. But no, but seriously, it was, they basically took over a space in downtown. They had Yogurtland there with some yogurts and like Pac-Man spoons. They had photo-ops, they had free shirts. Everything was free play. They had like classic Pac-Man, those multiplayer Pac-Mans you see at Dave & Buster's where it's like 4 players on one giant screen. They had like a Pac-Man ping pong toss thing where there's like Pac-Man head swiveling. You have to land the ball into the Pac-Man mouth. They had like skee ball Pac-Man. They had air hockey. They had a virtual Pac-Man DJ set. And someone had so much fun editing this thing. It was like a 3 or 4 minute long thing that was projected on a full wall. And it was Pac-Man full on doing like a rave, like an EDM show. Like they had him jumping around, they had him clapping, they had him like fist pumping, they had him like closing his eyes and really rocking out with his mouth open and just like slamming both his fists in the air. Like he was having the time of his life. Like good for him at age 44 to be DJing that hard. They had like ghosts and other Pac people all like dancing in the crowd. Like it was someone had a lot of fun making that video. But yeah, and they had like what they called a human Pac-Man maze, where it's just kind of this like, to get in you had to walk like some like crisscrossing little hallways sort of things. And they had like projections on the floor of ghosts and cherries and stuff. Like it was actually a really well put on event that was completely free to go to. But that's where I got to try Chomp Champs. And I think coming out of it, where I've kind of landed on Chomp Champs, is I think the idea is really fun. Like having a Pac-Man game where you're sort of doing your thing, but you also could be influenced by or influence other players in the same way that Tetris 99 does or Pac-Man 99 did. Like the power-up stuff is kind of interesting in terms of how that can change the strategy. I can't really speak to the longevity in terms of like how much depth there is to it because I was only playing a demo a few rounds, but conceptually it seems like it's there. The one kind of bummer about it is it's a paid game, which is totally fine, but you pay $20 to only be able to play online in like an elimination match or like, I guess, a ranked match or some other sort of match, or you can practice against bots. There's no local multiplayer. Like apparently Rachel is a huge Pac-Man I did not know this. She used to play Pac-Man Game Boy all the time, so she was super into everything there and was like destroying everyone at like the 4-player Pac-Man machine and stuff. But we were talking like, oh, this would be really fun if we could like play in the same match or team up against the world, but there's no single console support. So I need to buy it on my Switch. She needs to buy it on her Switch Lite. That's, $40 between the two of us to be able to play this game online against the world. And then if the game were to get shut down because of not enough players or whatever in the future, or they discontinue the service or what have you, there's nothing left for us to play. All that's left is like the training mode that's only single player. So it feels like that may hinder this game's overall performance in general, like in terms of sales expectations or whatever, because there's not much meat on the bone except the online mode, which you're paying for kind of under the assumption that a bunch of other people will also pay for it. And that's kind of a bit of a dicey proposition. Like Splatoon's a similar way where the multiplayer is really like a big chunk of the game and you're paying for this online mode, and if without the online, what are you doing? But at least there's like a whole single player element too. Chomp Champs doesn't seem to have that. So I'm kind of watching it from a distance, like, well, let's see what the player base looks like. Maybe I'll jump in at that point. It's a very chicken and the egg problem, because like if I'm waiting to see if other players jump in and other players are waiting to see if other players jump in, no one's jumping in and no one's playing, then no one's buying it. But on the flip side, if a couple people buy it and they're kind of like, all right, water's warm, who's going to join me in here? And then other people are still waiting. You're just sitting there by yourself playing against bots and maybe like 2 other people. So we'll see how it shakes out. But conceptually, it's a fun experience. So yeah, maybe this is my pitch to get everyone to go buy Chomp Champs so I can have people to play and then I buy it myself. I don't know. But yeah, Pac-Man Party. Closest thing I feel like we're getting to an E3. Well, there's a few other things in LA. There's an IGN Live event I'm going to this weekend. So there'll be some stuff, but one of the closest experiences to like an E3 type of event that I think we're getting in LA this June, in light of there not being E3. For those on the internet, though, it's a whole bunch of stuff kind of out of pipe. We have Summer Game Fest this coming Friday. We have Xbox's showcase this coming Sunday. We have Ubisoft on Monday. There's a Wholesome Direct. There's a what's it called, Gorilla Collective, the other indie group. There's a bunch of stuff happening in like a 4 or 5 day stretch this weekend. But what kicked it all off, I don't know if you guys had any thoughts or watched it, but we did just get a PlayStation State of Play, like last week, tail end of last week. And I will say, before I turn it over to you guys, this is the time I've been the single most envious of PlayStation owners, because Astrobot looks delightful. And I really wish I could somehow play it without having to buy a PS5, because it looks really fun. But did you guys watch it? What did you think of the showcase?
Presentation was I'd say maybe about a 5 out of 10, but Astrobot skyrocketed that score up to a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, it just looks so
Astrobot
good.
looks awesome.
And they do such a good job of like what Nintendo always does really well, which is kind of like, winks and nods to its own history, like the way Astrobot. I know the Playroom.
I don't know if you could count it as winked or not, but it was definitely awesome.
What did you say?
I don't know if it counts as a wink or not when
they're
it's
just
like
straight
very
up
blatant.
in your face. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
oh,
I guess
if you look
you're right.
closely, you may notice that that's actually a PS5 flying through the air.
If you look
No,
closely, everything is literally him flying a PlayStation controller. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like the nods to their history in the way that Nintendo often does. It's nice to see another company sort of dive in like that in their own way. Also, those flying PlayStation controller, like DualSense segments, look very Star Foxy. So if I wasn't already into the platforming parts, like those segments too, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like Mario Odyssey or 3D World or Galaxy or something mixed with like Star Fox segments at the start of every level. Like, no, or every world or whatever that ends up being. Like, oh man, they almost, this is the closest I've ever been to buying a PlayStation. I feel like it looks so good. I'm not gonna pull the trigger probably, but it looks so good.
Yeah, Astro's Playroom is one of the best platformers I've ever played. And
Wow.
now it being a full-fledged game, it's like, that's really exciting.
Yeah, and it kind of, I feel like it speaks to, last episode we were talking so much about like how Xbox and PlayStation and even Nintendo are like, don't have like huge heavy hitters this year, and Sony straight up was like, yeah, we got like no first-party AAA titles. I know Astro Bot, is not AAA in the traditional sense, but like,
You hold your tongue.
they are shortchanging that poor little robot, is what I'm saying. Like, they set it up like we got nothing this year, and then they tried out one of the most delightful looking PlayStation games and just pretended that like that wasn't going to be a thing. It was really it's not obviously going to move 20 million units like a God of War, but maybe it will. Maybe
Hey
word of
man,
mouth. I don't know.
Astro's Playroom moved, how many PS5s have been sold? 46 million, something like that?
But
Hey,
yeah, okay.
shut your mouth. All right? So there's an install base
just
there.
Just like Wii Sports sold the Wii, Playroom sold the PS5.
Yeah, how much did Wii Sports Resort sell?
Like separately from the Wii, because it wasn't bundled. It still sold like 50 million, 40 million.
Checkmate.
Okay. But I could point out that Switch Sports has only sold about 13 million. I could really point out that Wii Sports on the Wii U, whatever they called that one, Wii Sports Club was like single-digit millions. So one doesn't necessarily guarantee the other, but I really do wish the best of luck to Astrobot in his sales endeavors. Yes. He deserves it. It's adorable.
Yeah,
but
they got a really great marketable mascot right there. Love the design of it.
No, seriously.
Really want to get the Nintendo for that.
He feels, I don't mean to...
It's like a Sackboy 2.0 just because
that's what I was going to say. I don't want to insult Sackboy, but I feel like Astrobot is like the fully realized Sackboy. Something about him feels more like mascot-y than even Sackboy was. I don't know what it is. Maybe because he ties into the brand more directly.
It's funny because they both... Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, definitely more direct. Because, they both played dress up as different characters from, like, from other franchises. But, yeah, Astrobot, it just works really well.
Yeah. It's a shame that Sackboy's Adventure, like, flopped as bad as it did, because I loved Little Big Planet.
Weren't you a huge fan of it, Angel, as well?
It's what made me get a PS3 to begin with. And a PSP.
It was your gateway drug, your gateway game.
Little Big Planet 2 is still one of the best games I've ever played.
It does kind of suck that they sort of unceremoniously dropped the franchise after Sackboy underperformed.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Is Media Molecule still even owned by Sony?
That's what I was about to say. I feel like they really dropped them completely. I feel like they didn't close. No, I know they closed.
Media Molecule is still owned by Sony. Yep.
They closed the London studio that made the Getaway or whatever it's called. I know that.
So is Dreams still a thing? Because Media Molecule hasn't made Little Big Planet in a while.
They just
Digital made the last one, right?
I think maybe at the end of last year they said, "Hey, we are done updating Dreams. We are moving on to our new project."
Which, hey, maybe that's a comeback for Little Big Planet. I mean, in the same way that Nintendo fans are always pining over them reviving old IPs, I feel like Sackboy and Little Big Planet now fall into that bucket for the PlayStation fan base. There's actually a lot if you think about it. Xbox too, especially now to have all the archives of Activision under their wing. There's a lot of stuff companies can do to like revive IPs. I mean, I feel like we talked about Godzilla getting a lot of crossovers and Ninja Turtles, and like Namco's doing it. Bandai Namco's doing this huge push with Pac-Man, like the event I just went to, even though it's not really a significant milestone of a birthday. It's just like there's this opportunity, this nostalgia opportunity to bring back some franchises from like the 90s and early 2000s in the same way that we saw Transformers and all that stuff, G.I. Joe and, you know, whatever from the 80s kind of have a big resurgence. I feel like the game companies are realizing, a ton of our... I mean, look how successful Sonic is now as a movie franchise, or the Mario movie, or Mario in general. Like, there's such an opportunity to do stuff with these IPs. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Little Big Planet come back. Even though it's a little later, like that early to mid 2000s, it's coming around. I mean, look at, you know, Paper Mario coming out the other week, Thousand Year Door. 20 years old. That was 2004. Like, it's all coming back around. So, maybe there's hope. I don't know. But was there anything else even in the state of play of note? I only watched the Astrobot part, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. I just saw trailers after the fact. And the only ones that I remember, like, being excited for was, there was some VR2 stuff, like Aliens. I'm pretty excited about just because it's, you know, jump scare VR central. But
Ragnarok got announced for PC.
Oh, that's true.
With super widescreen support, which is really cool.
And PSN login requirements for a single player game.
You want to explain yourself, Angel?
No.
There
was that first game that also kind of confused me. Like, I felt like it was more interesting before.
Oh, Concord.
Concord, yeah.
I like the story,
Galaxy, but not.
The story elements seem like it could be interesting. Like, I kind of like the
weekly
idea that you actually, you actually get updates to the story, unlike Overwatch, I guess, where you have to watch separate media. Yeah. Like, which is, you know, you do it because they were really well made animations, like in Overwatch. But I do like the fact that it's just included in there. But
yeah, the 5v5 part of it is what really ruined it for me. I think as a cooperative shooter, sort of like a Destiny meets Guardians of the Galaxy seemed really like a really cool idea. But as soon as it was like, no, it's a 5v5 hero shooter, I'm like, well, I already play like 7 of those daily, so I'm not going to be able to fit this in.
That was going to be my question, are hero shooters, like, have they started to run their course? I feel like some of the newer ones that launched have...
I mean, even the Marvel
Isn't the Finals one of those, and Marvel Rivals?
The Finals is not a hero shooter per se.
It is a 5v5 or 4v4.
It is a 3v3.
Right? 3v3. But I feel like there's like... Oh, interesting. So it's... Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is I feel like these sort of... I feel like they're sort of... Am I wrong that they're kind of running their course a little bit?
It's performing
now? It's
definitely oversaturating the market.
Yeah.
Valve's
the new Battle Royale, if you will.
Yeah, Valve's new game is supposed to be another hero shooter. And that one might... Yeah, that one might, you know, might do okay in the grand scheme of things because it's Valve.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the hero shooter thing is starting to get a little... Like I said, it's definitely starting to oversaturate the market.
Yeah, it's the new Battle Royale.
And that's not including, like, Bungie still has Marathon, which that is most likely going to be another hero shooter.
Right.
Sony also has another live service game called Fair Games that will most likely be a hero shooter. Or maybe maybe it'll be a little bit more reminiscent of the Finals, but yeah, Sony going in on these live service games is not great.
That's what I was about to say. It's interesting to me that Sony is triple dipping at minimum because at the end of the day, and I feel like we kind of touched on this last episode, but at the end of the day, there's only so much of the pie of people's time that you can take a slice of. Mm-hmm. So I guess Sony's hedging the bet of, well, if they don't like Concord, maybe they'll like whatever this other one is. Maybe they'll like Killzone, hero shooter, and they bring back the Killzone IP. Who knows? But, you know, that maybe they're like, well, if they don't like this, like that. If they don't like that, like that. If they don't like that, like that. But the thing is, to build up a player, it's the Chomp Champ situation. To build up a player base, you need people to be in on the ground floor. If everyone's already invested in other hero shooters, live service games, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, what have you, it's that much harder to pull them off that, and then to assume you can have multiple successful live service games under your roof. It's just that much more challenging. Like, I don't really see the logic. Granted, I'm not the business acumen, and I'm not the guy sitting there doing their spreadsheets and their, but like, I don't see how this is sustainable for them. They're just doing like a ton of live service games. Like, some are going to fall to the wayside real fast.
Like, they had bought in a studio, or they had started up a studio called Deviation Games, and they shut down the studio before their game even saw any sort of reveal.
And
it was like a 3-year-old in development
crazy.
game.
And that almost seems like someone there, and this is not just Sony that's going through this. I'm sure every company has a live service. And again, even games that aren't live services, but like pay-to-play, multiplayer only, like, again, not throwing a bus, but like Chomp Champs with Pac-Man. I'm sure somewhere along the line someone goes, hey, wait a minute, where's the player base for this? Especially as they're seeing the market start to like constrict lately and kind of slow down a little. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see other studios that happens to, which sucks because that just means more layoffs. It just seems like it was a misguided effort from the start. And I feel like I was reading a summary. Jeff Keighley, heading into Summer Game Fest this Friday, did a Q&A on Twitch to kind of set expectations for this year's show. And he was basically like, and keep in mind,
don't have any.
Well, no, literally, Jeff Keighley is the hype man, right? Like, he's always like, oh, we're going to have so many great reveals, so many surprises. Like, it's going to be, mind-blowing. Like, you go on, tune in, don't miss the first 5 minutes, don't miss the last 5 minutes, don't miss every set of 5 minutes. Like, he's super, But he was even like, yeah, it's a little lighter this year. Like, not a lot of big reveals. There's going to be more like games you already know about. And I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10 on my scale, which, like, for Hype Man Jeff, and I love what Jeff Keighley does for the industry, but for Hype Man Jeff to be like, yeah, it's like an 8 out of 10. Man, it must be a quiet year. And he was saying in that Q&A that, like, the layoffs and everything the industry's going through, right now it's a weird time, and there just aren't as many big games at the ready. And we're seeing it. We talked about it last episode. Sony's not putting out huge games. Microsoft keeps saying they have huge games that never arrived. Nintendo's obviously putting out the smaller fare. We got Luigi's Mansion in a few weeks just to like kind of keep them whatever momentum's left with the Switch. It is a weird, quiet year compared to what we saw in past years. And I'm sure live service games and people not wanting to leave those games to go play these other games is part of the problem.
Yeah, I can't remember a showcase that like completely blew me away in recent years. I think the last one was probably like a Sony showcase before COVID, the one where they revealed Final Fantasy VII Remake. I remember that showcase had a lot of heavy hitters, but man, that was like the PS4 era. Nothing in the PS5 era has blown me away.
And I think the really one of the biggest and I think one of the biggest tells of your exact point is we're apparently in the wind down phase already for this we're over halfway through this console generation for PS5 and the Xbox Series. Like, Sony straight up said we're on kind of like where we've like passed the peak and it's coming down, and this is when they start sort of setting up for the next generation a little.
Well, they still have the PS5 Pro era, so
they do. That's true, and now extended a bit, But the thing I was going to say is, like, even, let's say they do extend it. We're how many years into, we're 4 going on 5 years into the current generation of, Xbox, PlayStation. Half of the people playing PlayStation are still on PS4. Like, the cross-gen, usually there's like a year or 2, maybe 3 of people kind of migrating over, and then they drop the previous generation and they only focus on the new. There's still a ton of games coming out for PS4 and Xbox One in the 5th year of these consoles' lives. Like, major third-party releases are still cross-gen. People just aren't, like, it's just such a different ballgame for the industry now than it was in past generations. So it's going to be interesting how this all shakes out. And I think that also speaks to the lack of heavy hitters, because, like, if there's nothing really compelling people to make the jump, and you can still play stuff on your existing system, or you can, get a cheaper Xbox Series S and play all the stuff that's on Series X, just not as nice. And those things on Series S can just as easily be slightly downgraded to be on Xbox One as much as they can be upgraded to be on Series X. Like, it's a very interesting time. Like, it's a very, it feels more like these consoles are turning into like PCs or like iPhones or something, where it's like every game you make is just supported by years worth of different hardware configurations versus like you have the one de facto console. and that's it. Switch being the exception where Nintendo's like, we're not changing the power until we jump to Switch 2. But, like Switch Pro, everyone thought that'd be like a half step, never materialized. So yeah, it's interesting. It's just such a different industry that it was 8-10 years ago. That's probably why the showcases feel so different too, if I had to guess. Yeah. So that said, though, whatever we're getting very soon. Like I said, Summer Game Fest is Friday, and then we have a whole weekend of stuff. And then if you do care about the Apple side of things, because I was saying, I like how iPhone's handled. Well, that's next Monday as well. Same day as Ubisoft. We're going to get WWDC with whoever Apple's planning in terms of gaming stuff and AI stuff and whatnot. So it's going to be, if you're a tech nerd of any sort, it's probably going to be a fun couple of weeks, even if it's not the same scale of like peak E3. But it's something.
Didn't even occur to me that this was like, I think you mentioned already, just like the week of E3 or all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the not E3 period. Yeah, it's I feel like in a weird way, it's going to be a weird comp. I feel like when I was younger, I was like, oh, one day I'm going to have to stop following things as closely. Like, I love going to E3. I love, like, watching the Nintendo press conference. I love being, like, getting up at 7 a.m. to go to a Smash Bros. Tournament like we've done a couple times. They're like, all that. I was like, yeah, I got to do this. I was like, well, one day it's just not going to be feasible or possible for me to do this. But the industry will keep going, and it'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I'm stepping back. Turns out the industry didn't keep going. Like, it is easy to keep up with this stuff because the stuff has shifted to be, like, flash in the pan. You just tune into a thing for 30 minutes, not like a full day's event where you go to a convention. So, in a weird way, I'm kind of like, oh, it's like evolving with me. That's nice. But, yeah, it is definitely a totally different vibe than it was in the E3 days. And I do miss those E3 days. Those are fun. Like, we just have, like, 3-4 days of just, like, all day going and seeing stuff and experiencing stuff and going to press conferences and hanging out with costume Pikachus and Marios and what have you. So, yeah, just different times. Thanks, industry and COVID and whatever else caused this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. I guess on that note, does anyone have anything else they want to talk about? Or are we kind of leaving on that weird, like, yeah, it's E3 week, but it's also not feeling?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I mean, I guess I could just really quickly mention what you alluded to, the thing I pivoted hard out of. But
you want to now talk about Lorcana?
No, Frankenstein's. But no, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, you're the worst. You give me an outline and then you don't say what's on the outline. Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, go for it. Floor is yours, Angel.
Yeah, so Frankenstein's. All right. So it'll be really quick. But essentially, I've mentioned multiple times that I've been playing Lorcana, Disney's trading card game, which is definitely heavily inspired by Magic and just other TCGs in general. But what got me into that, what got me into that was Disney. What convinced me to invest in it, at least in the physical card game, because I didn't want to start buying them unless I was sure that I was enjoying the game, was a service called Pixelborn, which was run by a person, just, I think, taking donations, but for the most part, doing it all just because they wanted to. And thanks to that app, free client, really well done animations. It basically looked like an official app that convinced myself and a bunch of other coworkers to play Lorcana and invest in it. And now we have physical cards. And apparently that's been the case for a lot of people in the community. And it's been that way since the game came out about a year ago until next week, because they just got hit officially with their cease and desist by Disney, I think a couple days ago, basically saying, you're using our intellectual property, please shut this down by June 16 or something like that. Which is a shame. I feel like this is not the case, but, hopefully, I guess a pipe dream or wishful thinking is that this is because Disney's going to make an official version of their own, because the whole point of this is really just to, if I want to build a deck, I want to be able to test out the cards to see if the deck is viable or if it just works the way I intended to before seeking out these cards in the aftermarket and, making those purchases. So you save money and then build decks that you do want to play as. But with it gone, you basically lose a very convenient way to test your deck. So I guess tabletop simulator is it, which can work for a lot of things, but nothing beats something that automatically draws cards for you or does the effects instead of having to do them all manually, unless you're playing in person. But yeah, thought that was just something. Kind of reminded me of like Jason pointing out how like Disney can be similar to Nintendo, and it's just one example where they didn't have to do that. If anything, I feel like they're hurting themselves by doing this. Kind of like when Nintendo goes after Smash Melee community, or the tourney community in general. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, usually I say Nintendo's the new Disney, but today, or when this went out, Disney was the new Nintendo. A little flip of the... I don't know why I said it so dramatically, but yeah, it is interesting to see, like, it's not just Nintendo who DMCA's.
The biggest media conglomerate? You're not you're surprised that they're DMCA?
No, not at all. But it is a bummer, though, because, like, I mean, I get it, like, But,
yeah, it's like not surprising, but it's it's like
it sucks for the community.
Yeah, because like you guys don't need to do this, but maybe they. I don't know. They.
Right.
Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of, but I also don't really want to give them too much of the benefit of the doubt because, from my perspective, it's like I literally would not have spent as much as I did on the physical card game if it wasn't for this, digital client that they had nothing to do with outside of, providing, I guess, card art, quote unquote. But yeah.
What this does remind me, though, in a more positive light, is we are still due, and this is something that's just me-centric, we are still due for that Pokemon trading card game app where they streamline it to make, like, Pokemon Marvel Snap, and I'm still very excited about that, and I kind of forgot it was a thing until just now when you were talking about how maybe Disney's building their own digital thing for Lorcana. I'm like, oh, you know who is? Pokemon. So, if there's any takeaway from the unfortunate situation of Lorcana, it's at least Pokemon's doing something cool in a few months. Which is a totally nonsensical.
So Kevin's new Marvel Snap.
Well, yeah, Kevin, do you think you'll get into it?
Into what? I'm sorry, Lorcana. There's an official.
Pokemon, no, the Pokemon. The Pokemon
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try for sure.
Yeah, they haven't said a date or anything, and I don't think it'll show up in the June Nintendo Direct because it's not Nintendo themselves doing it; it's Pokemon Company. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited for more, and we are. That's something that maybe could show up at Summer Game Fest. In all honesty, because that's not quite Nintendo. And it's not even it's not even on a Nintendo platform. So I doubt it will. I'm 1,000% positive it won't, but I'm going to hold out hope randomly that this is what will be at Summer Game Fest on Friday. So with that, I guess that's it, guys, huh?
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we went to the movies, we played some games, we got DMCA'd, great. So to make sure you don't miss future episodes where we will also talk about movies, games, and probably DMCAs, I'm sure this is the last one, you can follow us on any podcast app. Just subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube. We are at Ram Nintendo on YouTube. We're also on Twitter at Ram Nintendo. If you just want to get your updates there, or you can follow us individually on Twitter for all our thoughts about probably all the game stuff happening in the coming weeks. I'm sure at least Kevin and I will be occasionally dropping tweets about that. So I'm JSR7. Kevin is KVN Gomi. Angel is over on Instagram at World of Weros, where he's illustrating things. So I imagine you're not going to have as many real-time thoughts about games, more about your life. But they're always cool illustrations, so go check those out too. I'm thinking about things. Am I forgetting anything? I guess last word. Kevin, last word?
Remember to get your theater, boys.